Like a lot of people, I had an old camcorder from my childhood sitting in my closet and decided, I'm gonna try to bring it back to life. I don't even really feel like I need to explain just how popular this look has become. I mean, you've got mainstream #1 in the world artists that are using this style and this look. Cool, retro, vintage, I mean, all of it's in. It's all super popular. At the end of the day, there's really just nothing like the real thing. That's kind of what I always come back to. Apps are trying to imitate this look, this feel that you get with a VHS camera like this. So whether you're somebody that has old tapes that you're looking to digitize, or you're someone like me who just wants to use this camera for current video projects, I think I found a little solution. I'll take you through my process and kind of how I brought this camera back to life and was able to add it to my arsenal of the different cameras I have to use for the different projects that I do. So this camera right here, this is actually my childhood VHS camera. My childhood memories were filmed on this camera. So yeah, this is a Sony Handycam 72x digital zoom. We're using the term VHS because it's like a more highly popularized term, but I'm very much well aware that this is not like actual VHS that you'd be putting in a VHS player. Felt like I need to make that crystal clear. This records on Hi-8, which is 8mm tape. And you can get 120 minutes of shooting on just one tape. Now, the thing that you kind of have to remember here, if you rewind your tape and you forget that you rewound your tape and then you just turn your camera on and start filming, you're gonna record over yourself. This is a problem that, you know, people had to be aware of before we reached the digital age. I have lost plenty of my own footage in the middle of shoots because people wanna watch it, people wanna see what it looks like. It's got 72x zoom, and that manual zoom, there's just nothing better than that manual zoom in and out. It's just classic. 4.1 f-stop, 73.8mm when it's completely wide. Also, something that this camera has got that is just invaluable is night vision. I mean, it's just an unmatched look. Like, there's just nothing better than that look. I did have some trouble getting this camera up and running, I'm not gonna lie. So I mean, I started by trying to turn it on and it didn't turn on. So I said, okay, step one, look up, hey, what type of battery does a Sony Steady Shot Hi-8 camera take? I was able to look that up on Amazon, find some cheap replacement Wasabi batteries, and boom, stick it in the camera, came right on. Perfect. I figured it might be better just to use brand new tapes, and plus, you know, I might accidentally record over something on these older tapes. So I got some brand new tapes as well. They weren't that bad. So it's one thing to get the camera running, but it's another thing to be able to get the footage from the camera onto your computer that you can edit it. I mean, if you can figure that process out, you've got yourself a little low budget nostalgia machine right here. So I know that on this camera, you know, it's your classic yellow, white, and red analog ports that exist on this camera. So you've got, you know, one channel, your yellow for video out. You've got your red and white channels. They are for audio. I knew I was gonna need something that was gonna take an analog input and allow me to convert it to a digital signal or some type of digital file. And so what I found when I did that was this. This is the Blackmagic Intensity Shuttle 3.0. It allows me to take analog in and allow me to convert directly to USB, which I can then plug straight into my computer. So I thought I was good. I would just, you know, plug the analog signals straight into the Blackmagic and boom, I would be able to digitize all my footage. And then I ran into another problem. When I would plug my camera in, I would be able to see the feed, but it would flicker and it would jump around. It wasn't like a clean feed. And it turns out it's something that's pretty common. I don't really know the full ins and out of it, but it's called time-based correction. I think it's basically that the time, the way the camera tracks time is not perfectly aligned with the way a digital signal interprets it. It's something like that. The time-based correction is caused by tape wear, head misalignment, or other mechanical problems. Like, do I buy a machine that specializes in time-based correction and try to work that in here? I mean, and when I looked them up, they were thousands of dollars, and I was like, no. I kind of said to myself, this is why we have digital cameras. This is why we've left these machines in the past. Maybe I should just give up. Maybe, but no. Not yet. Not yet! So I went ahead and got one of these. This is an analog to HDMI converter, and that solved my time-based correction problems. This was super cheap. It was like a couple bucks, and I think gamers used to use it. I don't know if they still do, to convert, you know, old analog console games to an HDMI signal that they can then record. But this worked perfectly for my VHS camera digitizing situation. Then I plugged it in and said, oh my God, it works. Oh my God, it works.
Oh my God, it works.
So, you know, same thing, white to white, red to red. Get you a handy dandy HDMI cable. And then I was going HDMI from the converter. And then this goes directly into the shuttle, which has an HDMI input. And it is really funny when I do this in front of people. It's like you have the camera, it goes to a converter, which goes to another converter, which then goes digital, you know. Super easy, not complicated at all. There we go. All right. Yeah, lots of cables, lots of things going on here. So that was it. I was able to get my camcorder footage, convert it to HDMI, get it in the computer, you know, only by using a ton of old software, old computers, and outdated everything. So now, sit back, relax, and enjoy some of my favorite moments that I've shot on this camera.
Oh, so y'all want me to really turn this up? Say no more.
I think there's a couple different reasons why these type of cameras are coming back and becoming more popular. I think number one, we shoot everything on our iPhone. We know what that looks like. And even with the digital cameras, I mean, we see so many different creators online that are using the newest, nicest, sharpest camera. And it's like, you know what? Maybe we don't need the most perfect image. Maybe there's something great about the grungy, dirty look that this camera has. And I think when you see a lot of footage that is digitized from the 90s, like, it's very compelling. We're looking at it and we're seeing, not only is it compelling because we're seeing people from a past life, before phones, before the internet age, before, we're really looking into a completely different society and world that's taking place in the same physical space. It's honestly just bizarre to see. You know, back in the day, it's like the person holding the camera was like, oh, that one guy with the camera, but no one else is walking around with phones just kind of filming everything, you know. Life itself was not filmed and photographed and documented in the intense way that it is today. So when we see those type of images, they just feel special. And we see all the people in them, and we look at them and we think like, wow, those people are really living in that moment. You know, they're not distracted by their phones. They're not distracted by all the things that distract us on a daily basis. And I think there's just something about that, you know, if you've ever felt overwhelmed by the internet age and your phone, which we all have, you know, there's something very compelling about seeing people exist in that type of time, and it really makes you it really makes you attracted to that time. And not only that time, but like this type of footage. So, you know, if you're doing anything, you're trying to evoke that sense of nostalgia, using a camera like this in your video projects is gonna work great. But, you know, nostalgia is the best. Nostalgia is the best. There's just nothing like it. So if you have one of these cameras, or if you can pick one of these cameras up at a local Goodwill, I think it's a no-brainer to have something like this in your arsenal if you're a videographer like me. You can try to take digital footage from a DSLR and, you know, color grade it and add all this texture and film grain and whatnot to try to achieve a look like this, but at the end of the day, you know, there really is nothing better than the real thing. Now I want to give a little disclaimer about the Blackmagic Intensity Shuttle 3.0. It is a discontinued item from Blackmagic, so they don't manufacture it anymore. You can't go on their website and buy it. And if you are able to get an older, either used or refurbished version, maybe somewhere like on eBay, then be careful because you may not be able to use it What I'm using in front of me is a 2014 MacBook Pro. Now, this MacBook was my college MacBook, and the only reason I keep this MacBook around is because it's the old version, it supports the old software, and it's the only way that I can continue to do this process. So I've replaced the battery in this computer 2 or 3 times at this point just to keep it alive, just so I can do this. I did have one other playback issue with this camera that I was kind of dealing with for a while, where I would try to rewind the tape and play it, and like it wasn't even playing at all. And what I was able to do was get one of these 8mm cleaning cartridges. Again, this is another thing that I think has been discontinued, and that Sony doesn't actively make these anymore. I mean, I found this one and it was rather older, but it worked fine and it saved my camera, and I was able to continue to do this process with it. I feel like this process is constantly like hanging on by a thread. You always have to find some outdated way to fix these things. I mean, these cameras and software and devices are not maintained and they're not kept up with. So especially if you're trying to use a brand new computer, you know, the firmware may not work. Like everything kind of has to work perfectly in order to kind of make all this happen. So it's not that complicated, but it is at the same time. It's kind of weird. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. I mean, if you are an old school camera enthusiast like me, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Whenever I have new things to talk about, I'll hopefully start making videos on a little bit more of a regular pace here, but we'll see. I just moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know, do you care about anything that I have to say about my own personal life? Probably not. Thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate you just for being here. Thank you. Yeah.